You are listening to a new and improved 4-point stance on so many damn places. I mean, if you really want to keep track, you can. Twitter, iHeartRadio, Yelphi, YouTube, Anchor, Apple, Breaker, Google, Spotify, Radio Public, Mixcloud, Overcast, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, and on Facebook. If you want any of the Twitter handles and all that stuff, just look, you'll find it. And obviously, as I said, yes, I am on YouTube as well. There is a video version of this show. So when I do reference things, you'll have to kind of go between the two. I know some people like the audio version, some people like video version. I've got them both. As a reminder, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline available 24/7 no matter what, 1-800-273-8255. And the Trans Lifeline also available 24/7. The U.S. number is 877-565-8860, and the Canadian number is 877-330-6366. So, obviously, it's been practically 2 months since I've been around. I spent all this time rebranding the show and kind of taking a break and watching women's tackle football. And kind of made me realize that there's a lot of crap in this sport that I don't know what's going on. It just seemed like I took a break and I must have taken the intelligence with me, because there's some stupid shit that has happened. But we'll get to that when I get to that. You may notice on the video portion and in the audio portion, you'll hear little sound clips here and there. But I have segments now. So this kind of puts me on a whole different category. And yeah, we'll get to have fun. So let's go ahead and start it off with our first segment. So, for the rules of the game, I actually wasn't quite planning on doing something right away, but that ended up changing after watching the Arizona State-Michigan State game. For those of you that are watching, you're seeing a clip of the actual play itself that I took from my phone. And, yeah, there was a penalty that should have been called that actually would have possibly changed the outcome of the game. That is called leaping, and that should have been called. Dean Blandino, who used to be the head of officiating for the NFL, called it out, and I have found the rule in all 3 rule books that technically all the leagues that I follow will use. Just kind of as a quick side note, yes, I have found out that the USWFL uses the NFHS rulebook. WFA uses a out-of-date, but mind you, they do use the NCAA rulebook. And the WNFC supposedly uses the NFL rulebook. Our new league, the WTFL, we have no idea yet, but we'll just assume there will be one of the 3. And occasionally I may have to throw in an IFAF rulebook here and there, but that's more based on the NFL side of it. But we'll get to that point. But looking at how this rule plays out. Now, when you base it off of each individual segment, let's go ahead and start with the actual rule at question here, the NCAA rule. This is actually in Rule 9, Article 11, what is it? 9. And you cannot leap over a player. Yeah, this is Rule 9, Article 11A. For those of you that are looking. Otherwise, you can look it up. It says leverage and leaping. It says no defensive player in an attempt to gain an advantage may step, jump, or stand on an opponent. Now, that video is still going to be playing, obviously. And number 15 on Arizona State side jumped over the line. Should have been, as the NCAA says on here, 15-yard penalty. Previous spot, automatic first down. Now, if this player actually committed and stepped on somebody else, especially their teammate, it is a dead ball foul and really goes from there. But it is a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. That should have given Michigan State one more play because the clock would have expired, would have given them one more play, and potentially could have changed this outcome. So the fact that Arizona State moved up in the rankings is bullshit. So that's the NCAA version of it. In the NFL, leaping to attempt to block a field goal or point after touchdown unless the player is lined up at the line of scrimmage when the ball is snapped. Rule 13.3.1R. That full rule says running forward and leaping across the line of scrimmage in an obvious attempt to block a field goal or try kick or apparent kick unless the leaping player is in a stationary position within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage. If they just happen to jump over the person, that's legal. None of this Troy Polamalu coming back from a few yards. It says on here, when the ball is snapped, obviously, if a player who is more than a yard behind the line of scrimmage before the snap may not running forward, provided they do not cross the line. So you can run at the line, but you cannot jump it. You can't do Troy Polamalu here. And I know everybody knows what I'm talking about. And if you don't, go look it up. Just type into Google Troy Polamalu leaping, and you will find tons of video of him leaping in special teams. That is a 15-yard penalty even in the NFL. That is a common penalty in the NFL, and something that they really emphasize is not smart. Because it's not so much the players that are underneath that leaper, it is the player themselves that have leapt in the air. Landing, you can't guarantee. Now, the high school rule is a little more, vague. They call it hurdling. And they apply it not only to special teams, but they apply it in general. Jumping over a player is not allowed in the high school rule book. It says on here, Section 22, hurdling is defined as an attempt by a player to jump/hurdle over with one or both feet or knees foremost over an opponent who is contacting the ground with no part of their body except one or both feet. I know that seems like a lot, but that means don't jump over somebody. Well, Rule 9, Section 4, Article 3D, illegal personal contact, no player or non-player shall hurdle an opponent. That is a 15-yard penalty even in the high school rule book. So, obviously, for those watching, that play is still going. That is a 15-yard penalty no matter what. And that game should not have ended like that. I don't know if it was Pac-12 refs or Big Ten refs. Either way, they fucked up. And Arizona State should not have benefited from that. Not saying that the kicker might not have, still wouldn't have made his kick, but the game should not have ended like that. I hope this does give an idea of kind of what the rules of the game segment I'm going to be doing in the future. Obviously, whatever happens on the men's side, I'll be talking about. But yes, I will break it down and find it through all the rule books. And obviously, for those watching, I have the literal screenshots of the rule book itself shown on the screen. And for those of you listening, I'm reading it. And if you want copies of these rule books, let me know. I will get them to you. Because obviously, this does help women's tackle football, because this has been a big problem in 2019, is shit reffing. I've seen 4 different rule books used in one game. And I think if more players are aware of what's going on, then we will actually understand what's going forward. Alright, now for the lovely news segment. There is so much here in the way of news in my 2 months being off air that I have a lot of stuff. I have at least, I think when I last counted, 35 different things that happened in what we call the silly season. And it's always some weird crap that always happens. So, for those of you watching, there will be graphics to go with these teams and all the stuff that I'm talking about. For those of you listening, obviously you're going to just listen to see what's going on. To start it off right away, league switches. We have quite a few teams that decided to jump ship for whatever reason. And as a result, we had a league form out of this. I will start with that first. League formed. We had the Women's Tackle Football League. Yes, their acronym is WTFL. That still is not something that has ever been popular. At least this time their logo looks good. For those of you watching, you can see what it looks like now. Before, they had a typo in their press release, which was pretty funny. But, yeah, it's not the best acronym, and I'm still questioning it because of, and I'll get to that further. I mean, my little Real Talk segment, I've got one little group that we're gonna definitely, they're not gonna be happy with me talking about it, but their connection to it and another team's connection to it now, or in a roundabout way, yeah, that'll be fun to really break down later. But otherwise, in the other league switches, Washington Prodigy have left the USWFL and have decided to go to the WNFC. In my opinion, I don't see this being exactly the way the Prodigy want, just the fact that this is an entirely different rulebook that they're going to have to learn from. As I said before, the USWFL uses the high school rulebook. I have that from a copy of their bylaws that was given to me by an anonymous source, and I thank that source for it. And WNFC, we still have no idea what the fuck rulebook they have. They claim NFL, but it always seems to change. Texas Elite Spartans get one set of rules, but everyone else doesn't, so I don't know. I seriously doubt it's going to be high school rules, and if it is, shame on you guys. But either way, Washington Prodigy is going to probably have quite an interesting setup because I don't know if this is going to go the way they think, just in the fact that, yes, they may have been the powerhouse in the USWFL, but you are going against Odessa Jenkins and whatever other things. I'm trying to be nice here for once. I'm trying to save it for that later segment. Whatever they've got going on. One of the more shocking moves, just in the fact of the timeline, La Muerte de la Cruces has left the WFA and has joined the WNFC. What is very interesting was how they were pushing to host the championship game and various other things at the end of the WFA season, and how supportive of trans athletes they really were, and then they go to the WNFC. And from what many players have told me, they have suddenly become very standoffish in the sense of regarding the trans policy that the WNFC has been known for. So it is very interesting to see how this is playing out. I have to admit that is one of the more shocking moves in my opinion, and then not at the same time, because, again, I'll save that for the later segment in the show. Carolina Queens decided to resurrect themselves and release a brand new logo, and they left the USWFL officially and joined the WNFC. From there, I don't know, because honestly, there is a lot of teams in the Carolina area, let's be honest, and we'll see how that goes for them. A actually relatively shocking move was from the Philadelphia Phantoms. They did leave the WFA to go to the WNFC, and from reports that were told to me, the team had a team meeting with the players earlier that week, and no mention of moving leagues was made, and the team found out through the WNFC press release that had happened. I don't know what that's going to do to them. Their social media has actually been kind of awkwardly silent, so I don't know how that's playing out, but didn't sound like the Phantoms players were all that happy, which I have some ideas as to why. Mississippi Lady Panthers also left the WFA to go to the WNFC, which is weird considering first-year team. They actually did pretty well, going 500. They made it all the way to the regional championship and then left. Beyond that, whatever. And that's kind of one of those more interesting, like, okay, whatever movements, but we'll see how that goes out for them. Hampton Roads Lady Gators, Fayetteville Fierce, Detroit Pride, and DMV Lady Knights all left the USWFL together, and all four of them joined the WTFL. I knew from reports that had been told to me that those four teams were not happy with the USWFL, and having read their bylaws, I know exactly why. And various other things that that league hasn't been too forthcoming on. And for many of them, they can't go into the WFA because of location, the 60-mile radius clause. So they're moving to the newer league, hoping that actually improves things for them. The New Orleans Hippies actually left the WNFC. They were tired of being the body bag for everyone and joined the WTFL as well. And then finally, out of the league switcheroo, the Kansas City Storm came from an outside market that I wasn't observing and officially joined the WTFL. I had a feeling, considering, and I will get to this in a second, the Kansas City Titans going down, that the Storm were going to step up, and it seems like they have, and so it's going to be very interesting with Kansas City having that for the WTFL and how that plays out. There are 2 team replacements. Tacoma Trauma did close down operations, but the South Sound Olympians will be taking their place in the WFA and taking their market. So that does not leave a hole in the Pacific Northwest in the way of teams. And then the Kansas City Titans did announce their closing operations. But as of this morning, the Kansas City Glory has replaced them and is going to the WNFC. Can't say that I'm surprised to see that happen. I kind of had a feeling that was going to take place anyway. Out of many other things, San Diego Surge did finally announce, they decided to close operations. I don't see another team coming out of that because you've got the San Diego Rebellion. Maybe the San Diego Breakers might step up, I don't know, but there is that kind of little piece. But the Surge finally decided to actually call it, so we do lose a major legacy team out of the deal, and that's going to be one interesting piece to the San Diego area. We did have 2 teams technically combine over the season and the off season. Houston Wildcats had kind of been, off to the side, not really doing anything anyway, and the Houston Heat had been struggling in the WNFC for this whole season. Well, the 2 decided to combine, retain the Houston Heat name, and they did unveil a brand new logo. So there will be a new rebranded Houston Heat showing up in the WNFC, and we'll see how that helps them. It should bring more people, but that still puts 3 teams in, at least in my coverage map, still puts 3 Houston teams in the same area. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Before I get to the teams formed, I will also say that the Phoenix Prowlers have released a brand new logo. At least this one actually looks relatively different than some of the others. At least even though I swear I've seen it before, but fair enough. And then the Houston Power also did release a brand new logo, and I must say it's quite a statement. For those of you that may not realize, that is the Resistance Fist. I even have that tattooed on my hand. So, definitely a very interesting graphic move there. There may be a few other teams that have changed logos. I'm not sure. Inland Empire keeps changing pictures, so we'll see from there. But we may see a few more logo changes in the near future, but who knows? Teams being formed. Definitely had quite a few. Some were surprises, like major surprises. Some were like, okay. Going in order of my list, and this is not in the order that they came to me. Some of them I may have announced clear back in July, but again, that was 2 months ago. You're lucky I even remember this much. But either way, we have the River City Sting forming. They're going to be in the, I believe they're in the Hampton area. And they're going to go USWFL. We'll see how that plays out for them, considering the USWFL now only has like 6 teams right now. We'll see how that plays out. With La Mueta moving to the WNFC, this opened the door for the Sun City Stealth to come into the WFA in El Paso and take over that area. Mind you, Las Cruces and El Paso are actually a lot closer than you think. I believe it's like 15 miles apart. So it'll be interesting to see how these two competing leagues and competing markets will have to deal with each other recruiting-wise. But Sun City Stealth will be in the WFA. With the Acadiana Zydeco taking 2020 off to rebuild, the Louisiana Bayou Storm Surge decided to form in the meantime, and they will actually kind of take their place in the WFA, so there won't be a void of a team in that area. So we'll probably see a lot of Acadiana players going to the Bayou Storm Surge, but at least there's a team there. Now, when Acadiana does come back, it'll be interesting to see how the Zydeco and the Bayou Storm Surge will work together, but we will actually cross that bridge in 2021. Gulf Coast Monarchy officially announced their formation and are in the WFA. I know I've said it before, but in my list of stuff, might as well just add it to the list. I'm sure some of you have seen many posters. Obviously, they're one of a handful of teams that I make, as Weevil Productions makes content for. So, they're actually the sister team to the Mississippi Royalty, and their focus is to get more, the camaraderie and show just what kind of family they are in the Gulf Coast area and really focus on community. So that's a team you're going to want to pay attention to. The Waco Mad Bears announced their formation, and we're going to go WFA. Obviously, that's in Waco, Texas. Another Texas team there. So it's going to be very interesting how that plays out, giving another team in the WFA, especially in the Texas area, that might actually relieve some pressure on some of these other teams in the South. And then again, Mad Bears may actually be a force to be reckoned with. New Orleans has a new team, the Hurricanes. They will also be in the WFA. And I don't know how the New Orleans area is going to handle 2 teams, but we will see. I'm sure population-wise they can, because you got the Hippies in the WTFL, now you've got the Hurricanes in the WFA. We'll see how this plays out, but at least that area is getting more teams. so that it kind of saves them on travel. As I said before, some of these were a little surprising, especially considering that this opens up the door on the status of what will happen to the Portland Fighting Shockwave. Oregon Ravens announced their formation and we're going to go WNFC. Now, I say what's shocking about it is the entire coaching staff, meaning head coach who's also the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator, decided to form the Oregon Ravens, leaving Portland without a coaching staff. Leah Hinkle, who played for Portland, she actually played for Corvallis Pride, Portland Shockwave, Portland Fighting Shockwave. She's the general manager. A former Portland Shockwave / Portland Fighting Shockwave player is also an owner of the Ravens, but given some other drama that's been going on in the Oregon area, this is a very interesting move. And I'll explain a little more on this one, because this actually kind of has more of a real talk situation, but it also kind of plays off of kind of what will be mentioned in my next segment, but there's definitely a bit more here. Another kind of, I had seen this brewing for a little while, but we were waiting for the official announcement. As a result of the Minnesota Vixen lawsuit while they were in the IWFL, which ultimately resulted in the IWFL kind of shutting down, Minnesota Pride has formed. And they were building. Because the Vixen are in the WFA, the Pride, given that trans athletes are a major focus and a major thing, they were not going to go WNFC for obvious reasons, so they announced that they are with the WTFL. So this is going to be very interesting seeing how this moves forward for them and how it plays out in the sense of this is in the Minneapolis area, so this is really going to be interesting how the Vixen, as that court case, and I will explain more in a few, how that court case is going, and how the Pride will handle dealing with that. Memphis Sabercats announced their formation. They're in the obvious, Memphis area. Gives Derby City and Music City Misfits and a few others competition. They will be in the WFA. And the South Carolina Dames will be going to the WTFL. Again, another team that has been kind of sitting in the waiting, but given that the South Carolina Smash was sitting already in the WFA, it's going to be interesting seeing that between North and South Carolina, there's a lot of teams, how the Dames are going to fit in. Going into the other category, I know you probably have realized I have left out one team in particular that has announced themselves. I have to go into the other category for this, but I will save them for that, kind of towards the end of this. Sacramento Sirens are back. We just don't know what league they're going to be in. They are holding tryouts very soon, according to their social media. I will say, judging by the way that their social media poster has been made, I have a feeling they're going to go WNFC, but if they don't, that'll be a shocker to me. But the Sacramento Sirens are coming back, which is a legacy team, to be honest, and that'll be a very interesting piece, because if they do go WFA, that forces Cali War to come north a little more often, forces actually Oregon teams and Washington teams to travel to Sacramento, which has not been done in at least 5 years. And it may even put Mile High traveling to Northern California. So, and the other Mile High-ish, Rockies area. So it's going to be an interesting piece depending on where they fall. Who knows? We're still in prelims. We're still waiting. Some of these teams are not the best on their social media presence, but at least this legacy team is still technically back. A team that I did leave off, Florida Anarchy. There's a whole interesting piece, and I'm gonna have to, I might get into it into the real talk, I don't know. But, actually I might, so pushing to the real talk for later. Apparently the North Florida Pumas closed down operations. I heard it was because of some very shady stuff. But then the Florida Anarchy, who's under the same ownership, formed and is in the WNFC. But at the same time, the WTFL was announced by the same ownership of Florida Anarchy and the Pumas, and technically the Pumas were announced that they're part of the WTFL. I'll get into that a little more on the real talk because it's still confusing, and obviously there's a little more I need to say on that, and I don't want to kind of take away from the news segment, but yeah. And then finally, this will transition into our next segment, the Dallas Elite released full public statement and documents for a lawsuit against Odesha Jenkins and the Texas Elite Spartans. That's a very, very interesting piece. And I'll tell you right now, you're not going to want to miss that one, because that one is interesting. So, let's go ahead and move on into our next segment, which is aptly titled Football and Law. And definitely going to get some very, very interesting stuff out of this one. Okay, so this was released around September 5th by the Dallas Elite team. This was the actual literal public statement that they had gave. Obviously I have screenshots of this. I'm going to read to you literally what it all says. It says on here, women's tackle football looks forward to day in court. Dallas, Texas, September 5th, 2019. The Dallas Elite women's football team filed a petition in the Collin County Circuit Court on May 15th, 2019 against Odesha Jenkins, Bryant Sewell, Amari Hollis as individuals and representatives of the Elite Women's Football Alliance of Dallas, Inc., DBA, the Texas Elite Spartans. The lawsuit alleges conversion and breach of contract against the parties. Quote, the process takes time, said Lynn Marie Liberty Ellington, MBA JD, co-owner of the Dallas Elite. Continuing quote, but we are confident in the process and look forward to having our case heard in a court of law. Mrs. Liberty Ellington and her husband Mike Ellington are co-owners of the Dallas Elite women's football team and founding owner Marita Spencer. The team is a proud member of the Women's Football Alliance. Mrs. Liberty Ellington takes women's football seriously and believes that the industry can be very successful. Quote, in order for women's football to grow, it is essential that everyone know what is going on in the sport. Misinformation is continuing to do the sport a disservice, end quote. She goes on to say, quote, owners must understand that they own a business and have rights and responsibilities that go along with that business. Players must also take the sport seriously if there is to be any possibilities of turning it into a viable, innovative industry, end quote. All legal materials are public information. There is a Google Drive link to this. Details about the other owners are available upon request. For media inquiries, please contact Dallas Elite Women's Football at gmail.com. That was the public statement released. When you click on it, you get an access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at least documents that I was able to count that breaks down everything about what I used to call the Dallas versus Texas battle. we literally have a case number here. It does not have its official case number marked, but we do have a plaintiff's petition of injunction damages and monetary relief. And I'll tell you right now, as somebody who literally got their degree in this, to me this is Christmas. And I can read this verbatim. I mean, we're talking 12 pages. I don't know if how many of you want to have this, but so I advise that you fast forward, because this is pretty much what the 4-point stance will be doing. I don't plan on having this segment per se showing up all the time, but keep in mind that I have this court document, obviously this circumstance, and the Minnesota Vixen versus the young individual that they discriminated against and were found guilty of in Minnesota, and the IWFL. That court case is still pending, still waiting on final decision on that, and the documents should be in my hand. I will be doing the same thing to that too. Otherwise, this segment will only show up when it needs to. So, let's go ahead and dig into this Dallas Elite versus Texas Elite battle. And I'm telling you right now, I am reading this as it states. And there will be screenshots that go with it. We have Dallas Texas Elite Women's Football LLC, the plaintiff, versus Texas Elite Women's Football Alliance of Dallas Incorporated, D/B/A, Texas Elite Women's Football, and Texas Elite Spartans, and Odessa Jenkins and Bryant Saywell and Amari Hollis, defendants in the District Court of Collin County Judicial District. Plaintiff's petition for injunction, damages, and monetary relief. To the Honorable Judge of said court, plaintiff, Dallas Texas Elite Women's Football LLC, hereafter plaintiff, complains that defendants, Elite Women's Football Alliance of Dallas Incorporated, Texas Elite Women's Football and or Texas Elite Spartans, hereafter Texas Elite, and Odessa Jenkins, hereafter Jenkins, and Brian Saywell, hereafter Saywell, and Amari Hollis, hereafter Hollis, collectively hereafter referred to as defendants for cause of action shows. Number one, I, discovery level. Pursuant of Texas Regional Civil Procedure 190, discovery of the cause of action and intended to be conducted under Level 2, Rule 190.3. 2. Statement of relief sought. The plaintiff seeks non-monetary monetary relief as well as monetary relief for the amount of $100,000 or less. The damages are sought within the judicial limits of this court. 3. Parties and services of citation. The plaintiff is a limited liability company formed and existing under the laws of the state of Texas and its principal place of business in Tarrant County, Texas. Defendant, Texas Elite, is a non-profit corporation formed and existing under the laws of the state of Texas and its principal place of business in Collin County, Texas. Texas Elite may be served with citation by service of its registered agent, Odessa Jenkins, at 105, blah, blah, blah. Okay, not going to say that much. I shouldn't have to. I'm going to keep that out of there. We do not need to. I mean, if you have it, but I do not need to read out on here their addresses. Don't feel comfortable doing that. Venue is proper in Collin County, Texas, because of one or more defendants. It has residence or its principal office in Collin County, Texas. Anyway, for those of you that may not realize, the way I am reading this is literally how judges will read this in court. If you've ever been through jury duty, you know exactly what I'm doing. 4. Background. Plaintiff is a women's football team representing the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area. Plaintiff was formed as an LLC in 2014 under the business name Dallas Texas Elite Women's Football LLC. Plaintiff's initial managing members were Maria Spencer and Odessa Jenkins per the partnership agreement dated August 14th, 2014, Exhibit A. In November 2017, Odessa Jenkins sent a notice of dissolve to the organization immediately, Exhibit B. This request violates the partnership agreement, Exhibit A, number 45. On December 1st, 2017, Odessa Jenkins formally resigned from the organization, Exhibit C. Her resignation was also in violation of the partnership agreement, Exhibit A, number 32. On December 2nd, 2017, Odessa Jenkins retracted her request to dissolve the organization, relinquishing any rights or claims to ownership in plaintiff or its property. Jenkins specifically relinquished all positions in the organization, expressed the importance of returning company items, and realizing her responsibility for pending debts up to her resignation, Exhibit D. According to the arrangement between Maria Spencer and Odessa Jenkins created by Jenkins, not only was Odessa Jenkins relinquishing her rights to Dallas Elite property, but the agreement included a non-complete clause denying that leaving the individual from conducting business within any established or contemplated market regions of the partnership in a like or similar matter for 1 year. Exhibit A, number 56. Odessa Jenkins quickly breached the contract. In July 2018, Odessa Jenkins and Brian Sewell formed the Elite Women's Football Alliance of Dallas, Inc., DBA, Texas Elite Women's Football, Exhibit E. The plaintiffs continued to complain that Texas Elite is too similar to Dallas Elite, and as a result, the defendants expanded their name to the Texas Elite Spartans. One of the defendants in the lawsuit. Since the change, the company has returned to using Texas Elite Women's Football on social media with the intent to confuse consumers into thinking the organization is actually the Dallas Elite. These efforts continue to cause confusion, resulting in people purchasing the wrong team tickets, attending the wrong fundraising events, business sending information to wrong organizations, and fans' confusion with the team playing schedule. Texas Elite is currently doing business as another women's football team operating in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Odessa Jenkins is the director of the Texas Elite. Brian Sewell is the director of the Texas Elite. Amari Hollis is the director of marketing for the Texas Elite. The defendants all kept all Dallas Elite team equipment, jerseys, practice equipment, and organization documents and continue to refuse to return the property. On February 6, 2018, Liberty Ellington and Joseph Ellington reached an agreement with Maria Spencer to become the co-owners of the Dallas Texas Elite Women's Football LLC. On or about February 12, 2018, the Texas Elite, through its agents and representatives, including Amari Hollis and Odessa Jenkins, took control of plaintiffs' additional property, including but not limited to website, Facebook account, Twitter account, and Instagram account. Without the plaintiff's authorization and without any right or claim to plaintiff's property, Texas Elite, through its agents and representatives, including Odessa Jenkins, renamed plaintiffs' aforementioned website and social media plaintiffs and removed plaintiffs' content from said website and social media accounts, replacing plaintiffs' content with Texas Elite's own content with the intent of keeping the 6,000 plus followers the Dallas Elite had built since 2014. Defendants continued to remove or have removed substantive items from plaintiffs' social media accounts. Defendants further changed the passwords for said websites and social media accounts, effectively blocking plaintiffs from access to plaintiffs' own property. These efforts resulted in confusing consumers, including but not limited to potential fans, media, potential players, and even potential family members. The Texas Elite's business practices are intended to take advantage of followers' lack of knowledge and the difference between the Texas Elite and Dallas Elite. These efforts are resulting in continuing confusion and deception of members of the community. Defendants' conduct is wrongful because neither Texas Elite nor Jenkins, Sewell, or Hollis has any right to possession, custody, or control of plaintiff's equipment, websites, social media accounts, logos, business contract lists, organization documents, or other property. Defendants' unlawful seizure of plaintiff's property has caused and continues to cause irreparable injury for which damages alone would not be would not be a quaint compensation. Defendant's conduct and use of plaintiff's property continues to cause imminent damage to the Dallas Elite organization. For the 2018 season, defendant joined another league, the IWFL, Independent Women's Football League, but continued to use the Dallas Elite logo, social media, and property. These efforts continued to confuse consumers through the Dallas Elite, either thinking that the Dallas Elite either didn't exist or was playing in a new league. Maria Spencer and the new co-owners of the Dallas Elite contacted the IWFL asking them to remove the Dallas Elite logo from their website and replace it with the new team's logo, so not to cause confusion because the Dallas Elite were still in existence and playing in a different league. The Texas Elite then left the IWFL and played independently in the Best of the West using the Dallas Elite logo. Maria Spencer and the new co-owners contacted the founding teams, telling them to remove the Dallas Elite logo from their marketing materials due to the continued calls from followers and fans regarding why the Dallas Elite were leaving the WFA when the team was not. Defendants refused to remove the Dallas Elite logo from marketing materials that was causing confusion. Plaintiffs attempted to mediate with the Texas Elite, but they did not want to meet. Plaintiff filed a petition in April 2018, and the original defendant, along with the plaintiff, attended. Defendant argued that the social media was managed by a, quote, fan, and she had no authority or control of the accounts when, in fact, the person was Amari Hollis, director of marketing for the Texas Elite. During the hearing, it was agreed that the Twitter account would be given back to the plaintiff, the Instagram account would be available for both parties for 30 days to do as they need to establish new separate accounts, and the Facebook followers were to be shared with the plaintiff, and both parties were to agree on the statement to put each other's Facebook pages to make each party's Facebook page to make sure fans were visiting the right page. Defendants failed to comply with the agreement reached in the hearing. Defendant continued to use Texas Elite Women's Football as the name on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts. Dallas Elite Women's Football had been the name of all social media accounts from the beginning. A Facebook search of Texas Elite Women's Football produced both plaintiff and defendant pages, Exhibit F. The Instagram and Twitter pages of each team are equally confusing, Exhibit G and Exhibit H. A Twitter search of Texas Elite Women's Football actually results in Dallas Elite Women's Football post, Exhibit H. Defendants took and have attempted to make their own the plaintiff's logo. One logo is the stretch star with the Dallas Elite written on it, Exhibit I. This was referred to as logo number 1. The second logo is the star with an E on it and referred to as logo number 2, Exhibit J. Since the hearing, defendant continued to confuse the customers, and potential customers by saying the Dallas Elite no longer exist or the Dallas Elite have become the Texas Elite. For the time, the defendants changed their logo to a Spartan head with a plain black star on its forehead and discontinued any attempts to use the Dallas Elite logo. In January 2019, the Texas Elite advertised its Adidas merchandise on their website, but their logo with the Spartan now was the Dallas Elite logo number 2 on the forehead of the Spartan instead of the basic black star. The Dallas Elite contacted Adidas, and the printer that the Texas Elite logo contained Dallas Elite property. The timestamp shows that after the Texas Elite were denied trademark registration of the Dallas Elite logo number 1, their representation created a new trademark including the Dallas Elite logo number 2 on the forehead of the Spartan. Exhibit K. The defendants have taken possession of Dallas Elite property and have exercised domain over the property and is falsely representing to the public that the property belongs to the Texas Elite. Whew. 5. Most recent issues of injunctive relief. Most recently, Alyssa Jenkins, Brian Saywall, registration says Bryant Jenkins, and Amari Hollis attempted to obtain a trademark for the Dallas Elite, denied. Obtained a trademark containing Dallas Elite logo number 2 and obtained a copyright of Dallas Elite number 1 showing them as the owners of our logo. These efforts are in a direct opposition of the plaintiff's lawful ownership rights as per the partnership agreement, Exhibit A, number 41, number 52, for which none of the defendants have any ownership rights. Parties, through their representation, then use the unlawful obtained copyright to bully and harass the organization, its colleagues, and its suppliers. Defendants set Digital Copyright Millennium Act, DMCA, to the team stadium in attempt our ability to play our scheduled games, affecting our revenue, our image, and have to reimburse season ticket holder monies. After obtaining the copyright of the Texas Elite property, After obtaining the copyright of the Dallas Elite property, the Texas Elite made fraudulent claims that our new social media accounts and website shutting down until we took all the images of the Dallas logo off. In addition, the defendants threatened the league, Women's Football Alliance, Michael Burmeister, Club Burmy, and Houston Power, our opponent, and Preston Christian Academy, our home stadium. The Dallas Elite quickly created a new logo to ensure that the Texas Elite efforts to help minimize the impact of closure on our social media accounts. The Texas Elite, by and through its representatives, including but not limited to Odessa Jenkins, Brian Sewell, and Amari Hollis, continued to negatively impact the Dallas Elite organization. The continued harassment of our colleagues and suppliers is unprofessional and unnecessary. Defendants' unlawful behavior and unwillingness to turn over all Dallas Elite property continues to negatively impact the Dallas organization. Defendants' efforts to injure the Dallas Elite are numerous. Most recently, Brian Sewell is leaving comments on the Dallas Elite Facebook page disparaging the Dallas Elite. The defendants are intentionally keeping Dallas Elite property, customer lists, marketing contacts. The plaintiffs took years to build and cultivate, using them for the gains of the Texas Elite. Defendants have caused plaintiff both past, present, and future damages in an amount which is difficult to specifically quantify, but is within jurisdiction limits of the court. The amount of past and continuing damages cannot be overstated. The Texas Elite is wrongfully reaping the benefits of plaintiffs' years of marketing and media efforts, resulting in promoting Texas Elite and Odessa Jenkins in the place of the Dallas Elite and its female football players. Whew. Yeah, so to kind of go back through here and say, because I've paid attention to this for a while, this is why I definitely am very keen on making sure that I can differentiate between the two teams. We have seen a slight change in the Dallas Elite logo, and this resulted in Burmy not showing the logos and him actually not covering the WNFC for a while. This is why, if you want to know why. Number 6, injunctive relief. Mind you, I'm on page 8 of 12 here. For the reasons stated above, plaintiff seeks injunctive relief requiring defendants to cease any communication with anyone regarding the Dallas Elite organization, remove, rescind, and retract all claims to Dallas Elite property, and discontinue any and all efforts to sabotage or injure the Dallas Elite's image, revenue, players, staff, or fan base. In addition, we ask the court to honor the non-complete clause in the original partnership agreement, Exhibit A, number 56, and rule that Odessa Jenkins and the Texas Elite cannot compete in women's football for the original year specified in the agreement with the additional time the court deems necessary. Finally, plaintiff seeks the ruling that the use of the Texas Elite is too similar to Dallas Elite, whose business name is Dallas Texas Elite, causing confusion among the public and therefore must be changed. If you haven't figured that out by me trying to stumble through this. Plaintiff has alleged the cause of action against defendants and indicated in the original petition in the affidavit of Maria Spencer, attached hereto as Exhibit L, and the declaration of Maria Spencer, attached hereto as Exhibit M. Plaintiff has shown 1. A probable right to recovery and likelihood of success on merits. 2. Plaintiff will suffer imminent irreparable harm without court intervention. And 3. There is no adequate remedy at law. as directed and probable results of defendants' wrongful conduct as alleged in the original petition. Plaintiffs have suffered and will continue to suffer imminent injury that will be irreparable and for which no remedy at law exists without the protections of a temporary restraining order and injunction relief. The plaintiff is willing to post necessary bond to facilitate the injunction relief requested. Any adequate, effective, and complete relief to the plaintiff is to restrain defendants from further engaging in certain prescribed activity as set forth below, pursuant of Texas Texas Rule, blah, 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 680, its sequence and civil practice and ramification code, state statute 65.001. And in order to preserve the status quo during the pendency of this action, plaintiff seeks a temporary restraining order, and upon hearing, a temporary and permanent injunction ordering and immediately restraining the defendants, including defendants' agents, servants, employees, and independent contractors, attorneys, and representatives as follows. 1. Enjoin Odessa Jenkins and the Texas Elite from competing in women's football per the non-complete clause for the partnership agreement, Exhibit A, number 56, for a minimum of 1 year. 2. Enjoining defendants from marketing to or otherwise communicating with any followers of the Texas Elite women's football website, Facebook, Instagram, and or Twitter accounts, or the predecessors of said website and or accounts who are following said website and or accounts, or the predecessors on or before February 12, 2018. 3. Enjoin defendants from contacting fans, colleagues, and suppliers. 4. Enjoin defendants from representing the Dallas Elite, that the Dallas Elite has any connection to the Texas Elite, or communicating that the Dallas Elite no longer exists. 5. Upon the determination of plaintiff's rights to and or ownership of the Texas Elite Facebook page and their predecessors, requiring the defendants to return the Facebook page to the Dallas Elite. 7. Conversation. While she was a managing member of plaintiff, Jenkins acquired possession of equipment belonging to the plaintiff with a value of at least $20,000. After resigning from plaintiff, the and relinquishing any rights or claims to ownership in plaintiff or its property, Jenkins retained possession of said equipment. Jenkins unlawfully and without authority assumed dominion and control over plaintiff's property to the exclusion of and inconsistent with the plaintiff's right of the same. Exhibit A, number 43 and number 52. It is plaintiff's understanding that said equipment is to be utilized and is under the custody, possession, or control of the Texas Elite, of which Saywall, Jenkins, and Hollis are directors. Texas Elite, Jenkins, Saywall, and Hollis, in various combinations, have retained said unlawful dominion and control over plaintiff's property despite plaintiff's reasonable requests. In addition to Texas Elite, Odessa Jenkins, Brian Saywall, quote, parentheses, Jenkins, and Amari Hollis attempted to gain trademark of the Dallas Elite logo. The registration was denied, giving the parties notice that ownership claims by others existed. Exhibit A, number 41. The parties abandoned the efforts to trademark Dallas Elite. Timeline shows that the defendants then applied for and was granted copyright of the artwork of the Dallas Elite logo number 1. Subsequently, the defendants submitted letters including the copyright to our governing league, media, and suppliers to discontinue their relationship with us or be subjected to litigation. In addition, the defendants contacted our website host and social media providers and has our accounts locked up for the intent to affect our ability to communicate with our customers and potential customers. The actions of the defendants amount to conversation and plaintiff to entitled to recover the value of equipment, $20,000 plus prejudgment interest beginning in the date of the conversation, returned all social media accounts and marketing and business contact lists, and reclaim all Dallas Elite logo as property. Odessa Jenkins relinquished rights to on December 2nd, 2017. In addition, per the partnership agreement, Exhibit A, number 43, due to the breach of the agreement, the malicious nature of Odessa Jenkins, and the Texas Elite actions, the Dallas Elite seek damages. Now, the prayer part, I'm not really going to go into because it's kind of, that has to do with a lot of other things. It's more related to what Texas has to do, but that is the actual petition that was sent. Literally, I just read you 11 pages of it, because as I said, the prayer on the end of it that's specifically a Texas thing. I mean, I guess I could read it. Where for more promises considered, plaintiff respectfully prays that the following relief: 1, a temporary restraining order, and upon hearing, a preliminary injunction enjoining defendants from participating in women's football at any capacity per the agreement between Odessa Jenkins and Maria Spencer for a minimum of 1 year, the amount of time the court deems necessary. Exhibit A, number 56. 2, a temporary restraining order, and upon hearing, a preliminary injunction enjoining the defendants from communicating any information about the Dallas Elite, communicating untrue information, or likewise making any statements that will further injure the Dallas Elite. Exhibit A, number 43. 3, a temporary restraining order, and upon hearing, a preliminary injunction enjoining defendants from marketing or otherwise communicating with any followers of the Texas Elite website, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts, or the predecessors of said website and or accounts, who were following said website and or accounts to or their predecessors on or before February 12, 2018, Exhibit A, number 41 and 52. 4, the court set a date and time for a hearing on the application of a temporary injunction. The defendants be cited and notified to appear at the time to answer in this action. 5, the court issue an order requiring defendants to discontinue use of the name Texas Elite Women's Football as deceptively similar to the Dallas Texas Elite Women's Football team. Discontinue use and copyright claims to all Dallas Elite property. Discontinue use and return of the Texas Elite Women's Football Facebook and other social media originally associated with and property of the Dallas Elite. 6, plaintiff shall recover the $20,000 value of the equipment in question. 7, plaintiff shall recover all costs of the suit, including attorney fees. 8, such other damages and further relief at law and equity to which the court deems just. Respectfully submitted, and then it has their lawyer. So, those are literally all 12 pages that I've read to you. Now, here comes the fun part. I have Exhibit B, C, E, F, G, H, J, K, and L. So, as I know Exhibit A is not something they can give us, but the court does have it. This is what we can have publicly. And it is very interesting because this is going through. I know that's taking a lot to digest, and I apologize, but welcome to the world of sport law. It's a pain in the ass. This is Exhibit B, notification dissolution of the Dallas Texas Elite Women's Football LLC partnership. This is to Maria Spencer, co-owner, Dallas Texas Elite Women's Football. Not going to even talk that. 26th of November, 2017. Dear Maria, I am writing this letter to discuss with you the impending dissolution of the partnership business we have started under the name Dallas Texas Elite Women's Football LLC. Our inability to work effectively together has significantly limited the health and potential growth of the business. Additionally, there is a disproportionate amount of work, promotion, marketing, fundraising, and operation management that has been assumed on myself over the course of the business. Our original partnership expectation has not been fulfilled. We have attempted to resolve issues amicably in the past, but continue to suffer major losses for opportunity due to our ineffective partnership. I have initiated the formal dissolution of the business with the state of Texas. I commit to an equal division of all business assets and debts. This letter initiates a formal termination procedure, which will begin completion in the coming 14 days. Thanks, Odessa Jenkins. And it has her signature right there. That's Exhibit B. Exhibit C. Once I can pull it up, because mind you, I have it all. This has Odessa Jenkins' resignation from Dallas Texas Elite Women's Football Limited Liability Company. 1. The name of the limited liability company as it appears on the records. Dallas, Texas Elite Women's Football. 2. The limited liability company was organized under the laws of the state of Texas. And it says, I, Odessa Jenkins, hereby resign as a co-owner, head coach, and operating member of the limited liability company and will not receive a buyout for any amount or consideration of any kind, as do hereby swear that the above-mentioned limited liability company has been notified of my resignation in writing. This says December 1st, 2017. Now, granted, there are no two witnesses' signatures on here, and that's perfectly fine. This is just more for the state of there is actually paperwork on this. Exhibit E, franchise tax account status. I'm not going to post the graphic of this one because it's not legal for me to post, to be honest. But it does have pages not sufficient for filing to the Secretary of State. But this has the Elite Women's Football Alliance of Dallas. That has OJ's name on it. And this was filed on January 4th of 2018. So going to Exhibit F, which is the Texas Elite Women's Football Facebook search, there is quite a bit on here. But the very first notification is the Texas Elite Women's Football page, and that is actually what was mentioned in the court case as having 9.5 thousand fans. That actually, according to Dallas Elite, was their initial page until OJ changed it. Then the Dallas Elite Women's Football page is just under it with 4.2 thousand fans. Then there's the Texas Elite 7-on-7 football. There's the Texas Elite Youth Sports League, which is something else. There's Texas A&M, Texas Pride Women's Football, which is a smaller thing. Texas Longhorns Women's Basketball, Texas Tech, Texas Longhorns, it just continues on from there. But the Elite Spartans do not specify themselves. When you do type in Texas Elite, the Spartans come up instead of Dallas. Exhibit G is the Instagram account, and it states the Dallas Elite Women's Football has that whole tag, but Texas Elite Women's Football is the same exact mashup of words. And the only difference on these two is really the logo. But if people aren't paying attention, they're not going to know the difference. So that is what that piece has to go on for Exhibit G. For Exhibit H, that has to do with the Twitter feed. Dallas Elite, which is Real Dallas Elite. That's their Twitter feed. But when you go to, and that requires some changes here, they actually had to use that a little more, but it says join February 2018. That is their initial page, but Texas Elite Women's Football shows other things. So it is very interesting to see how when you type in Texas Elite Women's Football, how it does mash the two, which is another thing. For people that don't know what they're talking about or know what they're looking at, that would confuse them. Exhibit J is the website, showing the Dallas Elite website. That does have the E on there, which led to, Burmy getting harassed and various other things, which I think is hilarious because I never got anything. Because I was going to tell him, prove it to me, but never got anything for there. Then we have Exhibit K. This is the copyright, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and this is where Exhibit J comes in handy. Before the Texas Elite Spartan was a circle, the Spartan, and you had this black E. Well, J as you will see for those watching. It was that star with the E in it. If you look at the copyright, the Patent and Trademark Office, that E is right on top of the Spartan's head. And, yes, they were granted the copyright, but that does not mean it was proper. So that is a definite issue at hand. That's what Kay is highlighting in the fact that should not have been allowed. But that also says that maybe the Copyright Office didn't themselves know what they were looking at. And it says Elite Women's Football Alliance of Dallas, Texas nonprofit corporation, when we know that the Dallas Elite Women's Football LLC is actually the one who owns that copyright. And then finally, Exhibit L, which is the affidavit from April 25th, 2019, that states, I, Maria Spencer, have been co-owner of Dallas Elite Women's Football Team, LLC, since 2014. On December 2nd, 2017, Odessa Jenkins resigned as co-owner from the organization and relinquished any ownership rights to the Dallas, Texas Elite Women's Football Team property. Ms. Jenkins refused to return all Dallas Elite football equipment, jerseys, practice equipment, and business contract lists. Ms. Jenkins, along with Brian Saywell, formed the Elite Women's Football Alliance of Dallas in January 2018, DBA Texas Elite Women's Football Team. The close similarity of the names, logos, and colors has caused confusion amongst fan and potential customers. Subsequently, Amari Hollis, representative and director of marketing of the Texas Elite, along with Ms. Jenkins and Brian Saywell, took control of the Dallas Elite website, Facebook page, and other social media accounts, changing the passwords without authorization or ownership. Ms. Jenkins and or her representation named the page Texas Elite Women's Football, and then the Texas Elite Spartans, and then took control of deleting Dallas Elite property. I, Maria Spencer, no longer have access to social media accounts and assets that were a vital part of our business. Social media consisted of 6,000 Facebook followers, 1,400 Instagram followers, and 600 plus Twitter followers. These individuals consisted of past purchasers of tickets, merchandise, and concession stand items, as well as business and people of team that have been building long-term relationships for many years and months. The Texas Elite, through and by their attorney, unlawfully obtained a copyright Dallas Elite logo number 1 and obtained a trademark containing Dallas Elite copyright logo number 2. Mr. Saywell and his attorney have threatened legal action against various colleagues, media persons, and stadium suppliers in an attempt to get the other team to cancel our game and or have the stadium cancel our relationship and disallow us from playing our games. These efforts were done with the intent to injure the Dallas Elite's image and financial gain. Brian Saywell continues to post defaming messages on social media with the intent of disparaging the plaintiff. It is difficult to qualify the monetary value of Ms. Jenkins, Brian Saywell, and Amari Hollis' deceptive business practices, disparagement of our business, and conversation of the Dallas Elite Women's Football Team LLC property has done to our organization. This was Maria Spencer's signature, Dallas, Texas Elite Women's Football Team LLC owner, subscribed and sworn before me on the 30th day of April in 2019. And it was notarized. So, it was notarized in the state of Texas. And it has a notary ID. That's kind of in a roundabout way. What's going on with the, I guess you could say, Dallas versus OJ situation. I still call it Dallas versus Texas because it's just easier on the words. But yeah, in a nutshell, in a roundabout way, that this is the bullshit we've got going on behind the scenes. But obviously it's not something that went away. And let's just say, as a media person who's been monitoring this for the whole time and seeing, and I've called it out many times, it's bullshit to threaten media people. I will say right now, if they had threatened me, I would have said, prove it. I think it's very interesting that I never was contacted and I was showing their logos this whole time. and all this stuff, but I guess I also had receipts to back it up, and they didn't consider me legit enough, but they had no problem using other media individuals, so kind of says a lot on here. But otherwise, yeah, that is literally that court case right there, and we're still waiting on more information. I know I'm waiting on more information because this is not something that's going to be pretty. Another court case that we're still waiting on is the Minnesota Vixen situation. I don't even have a document to read yet. I do have, obviously there's tons of little extra things, but I only have like little statements that have been given to me from a source that's close to the situation, but I do know that is still in the courts because a certain party is dragging their feet and trying to pin it on another party, even though they were found guilty, and that was published in Minnesota papers. They were found guilty of discrimination. But in the meantime, we will just hold on from there. So, it's been a very interesting setup, and we go from there. Obviously, this is the segment everyone's been waiting for, the Real Brew. And yes, they do make hard iced teas out there. This is kind of making it's kind of the joke of, bringing the tea, the real tea and all that stuff. The real talk. But obviously a lot of crap's been going on. I'm not going to talk about the scam because they're just not worth my time. She can't even answer, she couldn't even answer simple questions. Can't even tell me what football experience she has. All I know is she pulled the Trump and said, well, we have people that know what they're doing. Yeah, right, sure, whatever. Don't believe a goddamn word of it. But I have bigger fish to fry. And most of it is where it's in my focus market, The vultures can have the scam. I don't really fucking care anymore. Obviously. But the piece that I had brought up in the news segment that I said that I kind of wanted to talk about here was the North Florida Pumas, Florida Anarchy situation. So, in a roundabout way, I have kind of found through the grapevine, not really rumors, this has actually been said to me by a number of parties, that some money went missing. And I'll tell you right now, the parties can clarify this if they'd like. You can send me a private message. weevilproductions@gmail.com. You can send me that right there and explain your part of it. But, and I'll clarify it next episode. But, North Florida Pumas closed down operations according to their owner, Todd. But then, shortly, he announced the Women's Tackle Football League, and then put the North Florida Pumas in it. But then, suddenly, the North Florida Pumas page changed, kind of like a Dallas situation, Dallas versus Texas situation, and is now the Florida Anarchy, but there's still stuff that says the North Florida Pumas are with the WTFL. So, given what I have from the Dallas versus Texas fight right now, are we looking at a North Florida versus Florida situation? But it's weird because it's the same damn owner. So I don't know what the fuck's going on in this situation, because are the Pumas gone or not? What the fuck's up with this Florida Anarchy thing, and what is with this rumor about somebody embezzling a substantial amount of money? The last time I heard this comment was when the Utah Jinx were found guilty of embezzling money, and that's why we have the Utah Falcons. I remember that from 2013. So, it would be so nice if these teams would stop it with this bullshit and stop playing this game of, well, I'm just tired of this, so I'm just going to make a new team. How about you fix what you fucking have and go from there? Now, granted, I understand if the North Florida Pumas had to close down because somebody stole money. I understand that. But given the fact that we have several other fires in this league right now that are as simple as, oh, you're charging too much, even if the team happens to be one of the lowest charging teams in the country, and claiming and bitching about costs, and then going and trying to form another team under false pretenses. You know, it's... I think this is also where the scam plays into it, because instead of improving what we have, you know, that business method, you want to pay players would be great. But first, you've got to stop running to the newest, shiniest piece of shit that you see and making it worse. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that we are having just in this silly season is we don't want to hold each other responsible, we don't want to ask questions, and we don't want to say enough's fucking enough. You know, we're not holding leagues responsible. Leagues are not doing their job. You know, to have a league pretty much dismiss a situation because, well, it's he said, she said, which comes down to what? We literally have to record every fucking conversation we ever have in this goddamn sport? Cool. Okay, fine. Hate to tell you, that is kind of some states that is against the law. Even in the state of California, that's not legal to secretly record people. You know, it's... Do we need to do that? You know, as the Dallas Elite said, you know, as Ms. Liberty Ellington said, we have to take ourselves serious first before we can really move forward. And that is something I am not seeing in this sport, especially in these last 2 months. You know, I've been saying this, actually, I have been saying this for the last 2 months on my own, that it was like I went on break and everybody forgot how to ask questions. Nobody batted an eye when the scam said, oh, we're going to pay people, and yet the Dallas Diamonds was the first indication that it was a copyright violation, that they were stealing a team name. The other teams don't even fucking exist. I'm in Oregon. There is no Portland Pirates. That is an old hockey team that still owns that logo. You know, there's no team. You know, some of these other teams, it's like, really? How about you ask women? Why are we having men involved in this? And I know I feel like a fucking broken record on this, but, like, God forbid we take what we have and fucking fix it. You have a problem with your ownership. Talk to them. Sabotaging your season. Second game in. Deliberately lying to other players and then trying to create a team and then lying to a league is not how you do it. And I'd love to go into more detail about that, but I can't yet because parties, we haven't been able to officially release names, but I do have quite the intel on that. But, you know, there's various things here. Like, we have the Dallas versus Texas situation. If OJ had just used her damn head and gave back all this shit to Dallas Elite, she could have her Elite Spartans bullshit. As long as she changed the logo and the colors. Something as simple as that. Instead, she didn't even do the 30%. Like, she didn't even do that courtesy. She just said, fuck you, and did her own thing. But it's like, we're kind of running into this whole thing. I have been saying this for a while. You know, somebody feeds you the Kool-Aid, and if you don't know what I'm referencing when I say, I'm like, are you drinking the Kool-Aid? Go look up the name Jim Jones. He was notorious for giving people Kool-Aid that was actually flavored cyanide and killed a bunch of people. But people were so stupid that they followed him to their death. He played himself off as a messiah, he knew everything, and created his own little community, and people died. Not saying that what OJ's doing, lying about her WNFC trans policy, is going to kill people, but I'll tell you right now, it potentially could. There is some harmful behavior out there that could get people hurt. I'm sorry, But there are a lot of people that are just stupid. And I find it very interesting that a lot of these teams that are going to the WNFC, and I brought this up, I'm not going to lie, I did bring this up to Leah about the Oregon Ravens situation, because for somebody who is a very big advocate for trans individuals, for her not to know that that policy existed, even though I posted it before and she commented on it, whatever, really says a lot about what is being said. I'm looking through my social media real quick because I'm going to read to you what a large majority of these leagues have said in the sense of their policy. But it's like, hello, why is this so, like, shocking? Or, you know, we had this kind of in the, like, a little bit, like, right after I took my break, how people were like, oh, I didn't know that, like, when Burmy brought it up. You know, it's amazing how some people can bring up something, and yet nobody pays attention. And I just feel like we have got to pay attention to it all. And it is very interesting to see how this plays out, because when you look at the bylaws of the 4 leagues, now I say 4 in the sense of I still have the IWFL one on here because this is kind of what started it all. We still have yet to see what the WTFL will get, if it even gets anything, I don't know. But granted, the IWFL said players must provide a birth certificate and a copy of their driver's license signifying that they are female. However, if a player resides in a state where the documentation is unobtainable or unusable due to various reasons, these requirements are waived. I have been told by IWFL officials that was stated in court, and that was that. The WFA, Section 12 of their bylaws, policy on transgender players' participation. Following policy clarifies participation of transgender athletes undergoing hormonal treatments for gender transition. A trans female, male M to F player being treated with testosterone suppression medication for gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria and or transsexualism. I do not like that word, I must say that. May compete on a team after providing documentation that the player has completed at least 1 calendar year of testosterone suppression treatment. This is actually following the NCAA rules, almost verbatim, that it takes. The athlete must demonstrate that her total testosterone level in serum is below 10 nanomoles per liter, at least 12 months prior to competing in the WFA. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to tell you right now, some cisgendered women, they don't even have that low of levels, and we know that from Castor Semenya, but we're not going to go on there. The athlete's total testosterone in the serum must remain below 10 nanomoles per liter throughout the period of desired eligibility to compete in the female category. You know, that's what that says. Here's the WNFC's policy, because this is, for the WFA, this is drug testing policy and procedure. All players must test negative for a banned substance if no medical exception is previously requested. Policy on transgender player participation must be made through the administrative remedy section. Teams and/or players who have been reasonable suspicion the players in violation of the policy must submit a written claim through the administrative remedies provision. Failure to follow the administrative remedies position will result in a waiver of any claim. So, in other words, player gets banned. WNFC. This apparently, we'll never know because they won't publicly release this, states, people designate a female at birth regardless of their gender identity. The athlete may not take testosterone hormone therapy. Athletes transitioning to male who undergo hormone therapy are ineligible to compete. Pause. Time out. There is rumor that a female to male transitioning individual was playing for, shocker, Texas Elite Spartans. So, I'll tell you right now, and that was their own admission. I know somewhere I got a screenshot of it, but that was on their own admission. back to this. Those who transition from male to female are ineligible to compete. In other words, trans athletes are not allowed to participate whatsoever, according to their own rules. Compliance in these conditions may be monitored by testing. In the event of non-compliance, the athlete's eligibility in the league will be suspended for 12 months. I have yet to see that. Now, the USWFL, this one was very interesting. And, again, you had to know what you were looking at. And you had to know somebody who had the bylaws. And I'm literally going to read to you what it says, and I'm not happy about reading it as this, but this is literally what their bylaws 2019 stated. Quote, transgenders are not allowed. Anyone who does not follow the protocol will result in team discipline forfeits. Okay, one, transgenders is not a word. It's actually a slur. It's not a viable word. It's a slur. And two, oh really? Oh really? So, the WTFL has a lot to step into. They better make themselves public because they really don't want me getting a hold of this. But, especially with the WNFC piece, you know, people designate a female at birth regardless of their gender identity. In other words, they want cisgendered athletes, let's be honest. But the athlete may not take testosterone hormone therapy. Athletes transitioning to male who undergo hormone therapy will be ineligible. But then it says those who transition from male to female are ineligible to compete. There's no explanation. It just says, in a nutshell, it just means, as it's putting in nicer what the USWFL just said. But one, there has been several in the WNFC have said, well, we've had trans athletes, and yet, especially from the Texas side, I've seen multiple Texas players say, well, we have a trans athlete, but you have the Utah Falcons saying, funny, because we're not allowed to have one. And knowing that several, other teams would like to, or have tried to actively recruit players, knowing that they're trans, and going to the WNFC, but they're not knowing this policy. So, honestly, I would like to know if the policy's gone. I don't believe it, considering how the court documents from, the football law segment say otherwise. And I know I'm going to be... Yeah, I know, WNFC doesn't like me. But, if it doesn't exist, publish your bylaws. Publish your rule book. Let us know. Don't hide behind your other people. Publish it yourself. Put it out. Say, hey, again, weevilproductions@gmail.com. You can give it to me. You can send it to me. I'll publish it. I'll show it and say, hey, look what I have from them. It needs to get out. Because right now, just as you did, granted, we are only going on one side of that lawsuit, but I want to tell you right now, lawsuits have a lot of legs here. And as somebody who's studied extensively sport law and media law, has college degrees in it, works in the media field, you can't bullshit me here. So, my eyes are on you, WNFC. My eyes are really on the USWFL. I did find out that technically they weren't allowed to talk to me, because they do have a rule in there that they weren't allowed to talk to anybody deemed not reasonable by their league. I had a source tell me that they weren't allowed to talk to me. So anytime I had questions, they couldn't answer it, which explained a lot. But, and I know why those teams left when they did. And it's funny to watch how the owners react to that. Playing the whole, well, they just didn't believe. Well, as I've said for many other leagues, that when your your commissioner owns a team in your league and they benefit off the benefits of it all, you know, in the sense of who do you complain to when the dirty team you're playing against is your commissioner? Who do you report when the people that are violating the rules are the ownership of the league, you know, and are the ones in charge of the discipline? You know, it's various things. It's not just me saying it from personal experience. I've heard this from several sources, and I see this play out every year. You know, we're seeing this play out in the WFA, and it's starting to bite Lisa in the ass. We're seeing this. We're starting to really see this start showing its true colors in the WNFC. Hopefully, it starts biting OJ in the ass soon. This court case definitely does. USWFL, yeah, Texas or Tri-Cities Thunder. I'm looking at you because I know your owners own the league. Because it seems awful interesting how you guys seem to cry about things. You know, when I think it's funny when the WFA started, their motto was, "Oh, we're going to give every player a seat at the table." I have yet to see a league do that. I have yet to see the WNFC do it, just as they claimed they were going to do it. USWFL, I don't see shit from them because they don't really post anything, except what benefits them. WTFL, we'll see. But my eyes are on you. Don't start looking like the scam. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're sick of seeing this shit happening. You know, every year, it just seems like same shit, different wrapper. You know, oh, we've got this steaming pile over here. Well, we just changed it. Instead of a paper bag, it's now in a satin bag. You know, it doesn't matter. It's still the same steaming pile of shit inside. And if the players would step up and demand more of their ownership, demand more of their leadership, and demand more out of themselves, we might be able to solve some of this. Because another thing that I really am going to start hounding on is when we see these teams starting to fold because they can't afford to keep going on, it makes me wonder, is it because you're charging your players anywhere from $800 to $1,000 and building your budget off the backs of your players, or is it because the market has just dried up? Let's be honest, the range right now, out of the 140 teams, give or take, that I follow, the range right now for what players have to pay is, the lowest is $150 for returning people, $375 there. That's kind of the low end. The normal seems to be between $800 and $1,000. We have a handful that are claiming they're going to do $0. I'll believe it when I see it. Because are you paying for transportation? Do you really have the sponsorships in your area? That's great, you're using the revenue out of the games, but how are you marketing yourself? What money are you putting forward out of your own side of it to step up? That's great, you want to use revenue from games, but what are you doing to put out social media, to put out commercials, radio, talking to the news, using freelancers, using the community, and getting those sponsorships needed to actually get said people there? The only team I have ever seen in my entire career of being in the sport that has actually put their money where their mouth is and got the fans in their stadium just switched leagues. And everybody should be paying attention. But my question is, how much does Lama Waite charge their players? That's my question. They may have brought 2,000 people to a game and sold out that stadium for their opener. But how much did the players have to pay? $1,000? $800? Or nothing? So I want a lot of people to sit down, especially after you've made it this far, to really sit down and think, what can we do to make this sport better? What can we do? And if you don't want to be the wrath of my, Real Brew talks, or have me literally read word for word your court case, stuff, and then kind of talk about some shit that I've seen. If you don't want that, and you just want to be like, oh, hey, so, team this did this, or hey, team's promoting this, you might want to step it up. We bitch about not having coverage, and then we bitch about our coverage. So, you got to put in the effort. And I noticed accountability and really just initiative is the worst thing we had out of 19. And I will tell you right now, for the hindsight season 2020, unless you're Cam Newton, then hindsight's 50-50. But, for the hindsight season, we have got to step it up. Because it just seems like, this is going into, you think about it, this will be my fourth year? I'll be going into the season. Started in 2016. 2017, 18, 19. Yeah, 2020 will be my fourth season covering for 4 Point Stance. And I'm sick of sounding like a fucking broken record. At least nice thing is, being on my own, being independent and all this, I can say whatever the fuck I want. But within reason, obviously I'm not going to spew shit to, like we have. But, I'm not afraid to kind of speak my mind on this. And I think more players need to be looking at their owners going, hey, this is some bullshit. Or, what the hell's our money going towards? Why are we paying $1,000? Not, oh, well, I paid $375 and I got away with murder and now I'm just going to lie and create a new team because I'm just, upset that I didn't get treated like a poster child like Princess Diana. That shit's got to stop. Stop going for the easy, shiny thing and actually put some goddamn effort in it. Rome didn't get built in a day, but sure as fuck got torn down real quick. And that's the one thing the sport's really turned into. You claim you want to be a great empire, and yet, goddamn, you crumble. We're crumbling faster than the Mayans did. And we're to the point where we're going to be out of existence. So, that all being said, obviously, this is a long-ass episode, but this is what you get for me being gone for 2 months with the new and improved. Probably pissed off a lot of people, but hey, it's 4 Point Stance. Women's tackle football talk. We talk about things that a lot of people don't talk about. We, as in me, but, you gotta step up. So, that all being said, you have been listening to 4 Point Stance, women's tackle football talk on, a shit ton of locations. Just to give you an overview, iHeartRadio, Yelphi, YouTube, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Radio Public, Mixcloud, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, TuneIn, Facebook, and on Twitter. The forum is officially open. Keep it clean, keep it nice. Anything negative, and I will boot it. If you have any complaints, take it to me directly. Weevil Productions, W34VI1 Productions at gmail.com. I'll try to address it. And if it's too nasty, I'll tell you where to shove it. But there is that. And as a reminder, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline available 24/7, no matter what. They are there for you. 1-800-273-8255, and the Trans Lifeline, also available 24/7, there to help. The U.S. number is 877-565-8860, and the Canadian number is 877-330-6366.